One of the things I found though with positioning is the first four steps are probably the most important because a lot of people think that positioning starts with the content creation phase, which it doesn't. And I have found that to be true over the last couple of years.
Hmm.
So, where I would suggest for you, Juma, is going through these first four steps. And this is where we're really going to end with to really build out that value proposition canvas, as I call it, to help you with the position and differentiation. So that first step is the business assessment. I mean, there are other things involved in it, such as knowing the clients, or sure, should I say, knowing your business, product, and services, what you want to offer, so on and so forth. But for the purposes of positioning, the most important thing is understanding your strengths and where you can play and win. Because there are certain things that you are very good at and you excel at. And I'm sure you've probably recognized that other people in your space that probably offers the same service aren't as good as you in this particular area, or even the business overall with your co-founder. There are certain areas that you guys are good at that other people aren't. So that's the first step: identifying your strengths and then identifying which segment, which persona, which market it is that you can play and win in. There's another part of business assessment, which is that competitive analysis, which is also very important because you need to now understand the weaknesses of your competitors and see, well, they're not so good at this. So it's kind of that intersection between where your strengths are where their weaknesses are, and then kind of finding that middle ground that you can say, well, this is where we can win. Because then we can leverage our strengths to highlight that, and we can now go against their weaknesses to say, hey, this is why we're different, this is why we're better than the competition. That client research is what you'd probably typically do anyway with clients that you have now or past clients, where you get to understand why it is they chose to come to you for particular services that you offer, what it is that they were looking for, their needs, their problems, specific use cases, or some people call it jobs to be done, to kind of flesh out
Yeah.
all of that. Then that third step is to create your best fit buyer profile. Some people call it ideal customer, ideal client profile. And this is basically thinking about who are the people that we best serve? Who are the people that are the most profitable for us? In terms of, it can be people, it can be segments. Because really, how you position yourself very effectively, there are two things that you need. One, you need to understand exactly how you want to position yourself and what you want to position yourself around. And then two, you need to understand which specific segment you want to position yourself towards. Because one of the things I've recognized is that it's very difficult to really have strong positioning if you're trying to talk to even two audiences at the same time.
Yeah.
It's very hard. And that's what happened for me earlier this year, or yeah, I think it was this year, where I wanted to focus on business owners, but then I also want to speak to marketing leaders within organizations and kind of trying to provide services to both. But then I realized that the message wasn't resonating because it was difficult for me to really go in depth to really help any one of these audiences to really see why it is that I'm the best fit for them. So I decided that, you know what, I'm going to deprioritize marketing leaders. I'm going to just focus on business owners for now. Doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to put them aside forever, but I just decided that for the next 6 months, starting in about June, or for the rest of this year, I'm just going to focus on business owners and really got in depth to understand their needs. Kind of helping to see, well, where's that balance in terms of the commonalities that they typically struggle with, which is where that client research will come in, and then building out the value prop canvas from there. So before I actually move to the actual value prop canvas, have any questions? I just want to be sure that everything is clear.
Yeah, I agree with. We had a very, very, very similar challenge, and we are having a very similar challenge where it's you kind of look around and you try to find the median description of the people who you serve, and it's like you say, well, we serve these type of people and we serve these type of people. And I don't know if the best approach, and I know you're going to get to that. I don't know if the best approach is to serve the people who you make the most money from, or who you like to serve the most, or those questions pop up all the time. Like where, and then based upon the vision of where we want to take the business, that's another issue because eventually we want to be full service, right? Right now we're not, but eventually we want to be grow to full service. But right now we have this thing that we want to accomplish, this content strategy and production together, married, both of them married together, so we could form a kind of a flywheel of business. Because if you do the content part of it, you basically provide work for yourself if you're doing production. And so that's part of the approach, part of the strategic approach to doing it this way. And so yeah, and so I agree with you and with that whole idea of, well, who is it? People say that all the time. ID client profile, ID client profile. But when they actually start to do it, it's like, oh my god, who?
Yeah.
It's not easy. So I agree with you.
It's funny you said that. I was in a sales meeting yesterday and we were having this very same conversation. And I was saying to that person that, you know what, we say it all the time on LinkedIn and it sounds good and it's a good soundbite. But when you actually try to do it for your own business, it's almost impossible because no matter how much you know better, that fear of missing out always kicks in. And so,
Mm,
well, what if I'm alienating this audience to speak directly to this audience? And then they may think that, well, we don't offer services for this particular segment or persona. So let me go and find someone else. And you mentioned about the vision, which I think is very good. So here's how I approached it. Why I decided to go with business owners versus marketing leaders.
right.
It was actually two things. The first thing was that I literally built out Juma. I literally built out. I think it was like a 6 month or a 9 month marketing, go to market strategy for
Mm,
marketing leaders. As in, I literally have the document. I think it's like a 20-page Word document that I literally wrote out everything. I even wrote out the exact scripts that I was going to use for cold calling, the exact scripts that I was going to use to record the videos that I wanted to post on
wow.
social. I had everything. And so when I started testing it on LinkedIn, the strangest thing kept happening is that it wasn't marketers who were viewing the content based on what the LinkedIn analytics was showing me. It was business owners, it was CEOs, it was managing directors, it was founders. And for like the first week and a half, I ignored it until about the third week. I said to myself, wait, there's something is happening here that I need to pay attention to because I'm not speaking to business owners, but for some reason they keep viewing the content.
Hmm.
So for me, that was one thing that kind of contributed to my decision to go with business owners. The other thing was that I looked on the short term and the long term goals. I have my long term goals. I have the long term vision of what I want to do with the agency and the type of impact I want the iCAD marketing brand to have outside of just providing services and making money. But I said to myself, the next 3 to 6 months, what are my goals? And
Mm,
which one of these two segments will help me to get to that goal the fastest and probably the easiest? So I had certain revenue goals. One of the big things for me is being able to hire a salesperson full time so that I don't have to think about that. And the
yeah.
thing about it is that from the marketing leader side, it typically takes 12 months, 18 months, sometimes even up to 2 years to close a deal from that first initial interaction. Whereas for business owners, I found that it would typically take me 3 months, probably no more than 6 months to close a deal. So for me, it was in terms of yes, the business owners may not pay as much in terms of revenue generation, but in terms of being able to bring in that immediate cash flow to hit certain revenue targets that I want to hire that salesperson, it's better for me to go with the business owners because that sales cycle is much shorter, probably half the time or less than 25% of the time it takes versus the marketing leaders. So my thing is that look at the immediate goals that you want to achieve right now, which segment helps you best achieve that, but then you can still work on the back end towards the longer term vision that you have.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Because I was just thinking as you were saying that the people who we really talk with often are the people who run the marketing departments, like the CMOs, the marketing managers. Those are the people who we talk. We talk with CEOs as well, which happens because eventually. But most times the CEOs in the size of companies that we deal with, the CEO is not getting involved directly in the marketing
Yeah.
day to day. They are not. The marketing manager or the CMO will report back, or the director of communications will report back. But they are the one to make the decisions. In fact, what we've noticed, what happened to us like a few years ago, was that the there's a company we were serving for a number of years. The marketing manager left, the marketing assistant left, and the CEO changed. And the new marketing manager came in, and you know what happens when that happens, right? They bring their people with them. And so we ended up losing that client because the marketing manager had a team that, or people, I'm going to call any names, the people they were accustomed working with. And so and it wasn't immediate. We got phased out slowly as the marketing strategy was ramping up. We got less and less until we eventually stopped getting called. And it's been years now since we've interacted. I've tried to interact with them, but clearly they have their people who they have.
Yeah.
So that's another thing.
Trust me, you have it's not a decision that you just make in a 1 hour meeting or a 1 hour session. It's well, at least for me. Let me speak for me. It's something that took me probably at least I would say close to a month of really sitting down and thinking about like quiet time, no distraction, really looking at the past history, everything, trying to take into consideration all different factors. Um, as I mentioned, that would help us to get to our goals faster while still taking into consideration that long term vision.
And just one thing to note before you go on is that inside the glass versus outside the glass thing. As like we do this for people sometimes, not probably not in this system. You have a great system, but like we just you simply can't bring yourself to do it for yourself. Like how so this is great. By the way, go ahead.
I call it the marketer's. Well, I don't even know if it's a marketer's curse or it's a business owner or entrepreneur curse. But yeah, you are correct. For some reason, if someone came to us right now within probably the first 2 to 3 minutes, we could be like, all right, this is what you need to do. Bam, 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 bam. But then for us, it's like, boy, we need to take 2 to 3 months just to make a single decision.
Yeah,
Yeah, rough, but that's why I have like a very small group of people, whether other marketers or business owners, where whenever I want an outside perspective, then I'll go to them and
yeah,
say, this is what I'm trying to do. What do you think the best approach should be? And then allow
right,
them to give me the feedback as someone on the outside looking in, and then I say, okay, well, yeah, that makes sense. I didn't think about that.
right, right, right. That's very useful.
So moving on. So we did the first 3 steps. Then the next step is that this is the value prop canvas. So this is the exact template that I used when I was going through the very same struggle that you have right now of trying to gain clarity on how do I position myself. Once I figure out which segment it is that I wanted to focus on over the next 6 months, then the question became, well, how do I position myself in the best way that one, it aligns with the authority and me building authority in that segment, but they also see the value I could deliver to them. So just to very briefly run through each of these stages, and you'll realize that it kind of has a flow going from left to right. So the first one is those use cases, which would be what are they trying to do or what are they trying to achieve. The current way would be how are they currently executing that activity. So let's say for you, it's content production. It could be they're doing it in-house, but it's not as effective or efficient as they'd like it to be. Or it could be that they have another agency that they're working with, but the agency doesn't really understand the content strategy aspect of it. So it's they're not getting the type of output or outcome, I should say, that they're really looking for. The problem would be, well, based on how they're doing it now, what are the top three problems that they struggle with? And then your way would be how it is that you approach it. Not necessarily from just the specific tactics, but it's like what's the overall encompassing way that you approach it that you describe. So for example, my whole thing is, I help you build brand authority to create sales opportunity. I have the authority branding system. So pretty much everything in terms of my entire 11-step process is kind of framed into a single way to describe it, which would be the your way. And then the benefit side of things now would be based on how you approach it, that's different or better than their current way, how it is that your way helps them to benefit versus how they're currently doing it now. So let me pause there because I see you look like you're deep in thought.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I it's you say these things it's like we should be able to do this. Well, we haven't. We haven't. We just haven't. It's. But it makes so much sense. It makes so much sense. So what I hear you saying is that each person is supposed to have a system about how they deliver these services, right? And what you are trying to do is find the clients who your system, the way you solve the problem that they have fits best. And you are looking at how they are doing it, right? So you have your use cases, looking at how they are currently executing on this thing, finding, okay, well, these are the problems that they're facing. And then you're saying, okay, we have a system that gives you superior outcome. And these are the benefits of using our system is this, this, and this. It will give you, and then you could, of course, you may have numbers or timing, and you say the time, the 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 outcomes or previous outcomes for some other people are this, this, and this. This is how we've actually done it, and these are the outcomes that will happen, maybe. And but I hear you in terms of creating not just disparate pieces, but a cohesive system that you can present and say, this is how we do it.
Right. And I found from a branding standpoint or even a positioning standpoint, being able to name, first being able to create on what that system looks like, and then being able to name that system really works well. I mean, even there's a particular potential client that I've been in discussion with, I would say probably at least 2 months now. And he has some things happening in his business. So we couldn't necessarily move forward the way how we wanted to. But then when I posted the 11-step process, I put it out there. But apparently he saw it. And while in discussion, because we're still back and forth in discussion, just me kind of keeping up to date on how his business is going and so on. He saw the process and say, can we do this for him? And I'm confused because we're not having a sales conversation. We're just talking about his business. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, this thing that you posted. I said, you mean the proposal I already sent you? He said, no, this thing. And I said, oh, well, and then because of that one post, it kind of
Yeah,
restarted or it kind of reactivated, and is a better word, that
yeah,
entire sales conversation.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think that's part of what we need, like setting up like this exact thing that people could look at and say, oh, this makes sense. It makes sense. I can use this.
I know you haven't necessarily figured out which one you want to focus on, but just for the sake of this exercise, let's say you decide to choose one. And we fill out the ICP description here. Just in
Yeah.
probably one sentence or one line, how would you describe your ideal client?
Okay. So let me just make sure that I have it right. So ideal client in terms of the type of business or the person or both.
It can be anyone, depends on who you're targeting.
Okay.
Is it yeah, this doesn't matter.
Okay. So it's the chief marketing officer in a business that has a stable financial standing. And what I mean by that is that they are profitable and have been for the last 5 years.
Let me put that.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. This particular business, well, I don't know if I could give two. Could I give two scenarios or give one? Or we'll just choose. You think I give two and you'll just choose one?
Scenarios in terms of what? Because it may not go
I
here
mean,
but here.
okay, all right, cool. Well then, that's basically it. So, CMO at a well, it has to be a service business too. It has to be usually it's a service business that we not selling products, not retail, but service businesses. Yeah,
All right. So CMO, profitable company. CMO with a profitable company for the last 5 years. That's a service business.
yeah.
All right. And let's walk through the different use cases in terms of what are they trying to do when they come to you for their specific services. Like if you could pick the top three that you realize
Right.
most come to you about.
So I know one for sure. I know one scenario for sure. The first scenario is that they have been building their business successfully for more than 5 years using referrals and word of mouth, and they are now transitioning to using digital marketing and content as one of the primary ways of gaining inbound business.
I just put through, well, content and DM stands for digital marketing.
Yeah. Right. Another scenario might be where they have been attempting to create content for themselves, but they haven't been able to get the necessary results out of it, and so they need a help in creating some sort of approach and a strategy with their content and also the production that goes along with that.
All right. Is there a third or that's it?
That's those two are good. Is there any other one, boy?
If
Let me
there's if
think.
there's not a third, that's fine.
Okay, great. Well,
It
let's
can
let's
be
go with
anywhere
that.
between 1 to 3, but I always say no more than three.
Right. Yeah. So null. Yeah.
And you say they've been trying to do it in house.
You've been trying to do it for themselves, but they realize that they have not been able to execute well on it, or it's not getting them the results that they want. All right.
Um,
Oh, okay. I see. I see.
so the problem with them doing it in house is they're not getting the results. What else you can think of? Like the top
It's too.
three.
It's too stressful to do it. It's not too stressful to do it in house, and that's for various reasons, right? And the third problem might be that they don't have the resource to do it in house, right? So they need to lean on us who are able to do it for them.
I put nothing. All right. And how would you describe your way as that cohesive system that we spoke about earlier?
That is a big question. That's a massive, massive, massive question. Can I wing it on this one? Let me see. If I were to wing it,
Yeah. I mean, this is
I,
just for the
yeah,
sake of example or running through the exercise, just to help you kind of think through the problem and gain more clarity in terms of how you want to position yourself.
Yeah. I would say that our way is that what we want to focus on for them, and I don't know if when I say this, you'll tell me if this is makes sense. That we want to help them maximize, retain their best customers, and build a. Oh, how I say this, that we want to help them build a long-term relationship with their best customers. Now, I don't know if that's nebulous or not, but is customer retention and maximizing customer lifetime value. So what we kind of say is that the system that we create addresses all areas of the customer journey so that they can retain that customer for a long period of time. Or how did I describe it? Why I think I described this already.
Let's
Maybe it
call
makes sense.
it.
Let's see
Let's
if
call
I.
it your content retention system.
Oh, so you just want to name content retention? Oh, content retention, or okay, all right, cool, no problem. We'll go with that.
I mean, just as a hypothetical
Yeah,
name for the
hypothetically,
purposes of this example, and
nope, no.
based on your system, what would you say is the top three benefits of doing it using your system
Top three
against the
benefits.
problems that they have doing it their way?
Right. Okay. So first thing would be that ease of producing content. I like that these answers are simple. Ease of content production. Um, uh, the marketing teams can focus on internal things as opposed to, well, not internal. They can focus on
Probably other marketing activities.
other marketing activities. Yes, that might be it. Yeah. So they're not juggling too many things because yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. Yeah, one of the things I've heard people say, people have told us that is that we just do it better than they do, so they don't want to they let us do it for them, and I know that's probably a normal thing. The last thing, have an experience. No, what was that? Maybe I
I was
thought I
going
would
to put
have.
have an expert who knows how to deliver results or
Yeah,
is that
that,
so what you were going to say?
yeah. No, I was gonna say yeah. I was wondering. I was trying to match them back to the problem section, but yeah, having an expert who knows what they're doing, that's a good thing. Having somebody who knows, because that's one of the things that we always hear. We always hear, we're glad that you did this for us. We didn't know how to do this. We hear that often. Yeah.
All right, so this is us filling it out now. So here's how you could position yourself. I guess you could even let me run through how the positioning statement would look like in terms of just as a high level how you could describe your positioning and differentiation. And then kind of go through how you can utilize and leverage that, whether that's to create the content or whether that's to in your sales meeting and sales pitches. So you could say that we are a content. How would you describe your service? A content production agency or content marketing agency?
We don't ever use content marketing. We need to even define that. We tend to say a strategic marketing and production company. That's what we tend to say.
I actually like that better.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so we are a strategic marketing and production company who helps CMOs in service-based businesses that's been profitable for the last 5 years. I mean, the part about profitable for the last 5 years, you may not necessarily have to include that.
Right. Yeah.
You could if you want to, but just saying, we target CMOs, or we help CMOs of service businesses who are trying to gain inbound business through content and digital marketing, create content with a strategy, that are doing it in house. But the problem is that they're not getting the results from their own efforts. It's too stressful to do in house, and they don't have the resources as well to be able to do it in house. Our content retention system helps to solve those problems where now you have the ease of content production. You don't have to think about it. So now you have the time to focus on other marketing activities. And you also have an expert who knows what they're doing and can deliver results for you. So just from this alone, right away it gains. So you're like,
This
this is
is
it. This is
this
what
took
this is
this
all we
took
needed to do.
this took us 5 minutes. It makes so much
No,
sense.
but here's the thing
Oh,
about it. And I'm pretty sure this is the same reaction your clients get, where it's a difference between someone who has done it so often that it becomes second nature and can do it in 5 minutes versus
yeah,
someone
yeah,
who is kind of doing trial and error and trying to figure it out on their own. And
yes,
and
yeah.
don't worry, I was in this same boat a couple of months ago. So
Oh,
it's just that once it clicked, like just like how it clicked for you just now, that's how it clicked for me. And I'm like, shit. So this is what I've been struggling for the past 3 years to try and figure out.
uh-huh, uh-huh. Yeah, 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 yeah. This is wow. This is this is good. And it's the thing is like it's there, but it's not organized.
Right.
It's not the system brings clarity, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah.
Right. It brings
That's exactly
clarity.
what it does.
Yeah, and now I could take the clarity and communicate that, and so it talks to the exact people. And I always say exact clients. And that's something we say all the time. It speaks to the exact client you wanted to speak to. Very, very excellent.
Exactly.
Excellent.
And
Yeah.
now you kind of see why it's very important to focus on one particular persona or segment, because this wouldn't apply to an individual, because an individual is not working in a company and doesn't have an in-house team doing all of this.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So yes, the services that you offer is relevant to them and they do need it, but how you actually communicate that value and how you actually position yourself wouldn't resonate and wouldn't be relevant to them and their situation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I see it.
So just from doing all of this, Juma, I mean, there are other ways we could get into this, where we could even use Chat GPT to come up with content ideas. But just from this, you'll gain so much clarity with even how you're creating content on LinkedIn and all your other platforms.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah. I see.
then, based on where they are in their buyer's journey, let's say they're doing this content piece, content production in house, but it's not working for them and they don't know why. You can say, well, the reason why you're doing it and it's not working is because you don't have a system that predictably can create the type of content that speaks to your audience and get you the results that you want. And then you
Right.
can kind of break that down from the problem unaware side. It could be also from the fact that, hey, they know they have a problem. They know they're trying to do this thing in house and it's not working for them. You can then say, hey, you're trying to do this in house, but it's not working. Here's how our content retention system helps you to do it better and get the results that you want.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, or you could go even further to say, hey, let's say they know the problem, they know about the solution in terms of your content retention system or some other way to get the job done more effectively. But then they probably have an agency, for example. Let's say they have an agency that's doing it for them. You could say, well, based on our clients, one of the problems that they have, well, let me not use agents. Let me stick to what we have right here. Based on the clients that we've spoken to, or potential clients that we've spoken to, who have tried to do content production in house, they always tell us that it's too stressful to do in house and the fact that they don't have enough resources. With our content retention system, we do it for you, And now you have the ease of content production, you have time to focus on other marketing activities, and you have an expert who knows how to do it. So right away you paint the, you're doing it this way, your way, but here's a problem with your way. Let's come over to how we do things with our system, and here's the reason why our system is better based on these three benefits. And there are several ways you can mix and match it, because if you even pay
Yeah.
attention to my content, you realize that there are really only two, maybe three ways how I said the same thing over and over again. And it's
Right.
really based on this same template that we just ran through just now.
Wow. That's good. That's good stuff. That's good. Yeah, I can see how this, and again, this is like when the shoe's on the other foot. It's like, oh, it's so easy, but to just like do this, I don't know. It's like the worst thing is like pulling teeth for a long time, and this is excellent, and the language is there is laid out. It's like this,
Exactly.
this, and this. So now it's easy for me. Like somebody might still ask, well, what do I do now? How can I create in order to do this? It's easy for me to look at this and know exactly like what I could focus on when I produce now. And so on. And man, that's in addition to you talking to your clients and all those different things. That's having done all the other groundwork
Yeah.
that you do your client interviews and blah blah blah. But like this is easy to take this and be like, okay, I could look at this and I just seen it. I could pull like 10 different things out of this already, just looking at it to
And
start
and,
to
and that's and
talk.
that's even without you using Chat GPT, because you could
Yeah,
plug all of this or any piece of this into Chat GPT and say, hey, give me 50. As a matter of fact, just for the sake of
yeah.
let's take 5 minutes
Let's do it. Yeah, let's see. I want to see this.
and use Chat GPT to plug into all of this. Our clients are CMOs of service businesses who do not have the in-house resources and expertise to create content that gets them results. I need 50 content ideas on how having an expert can help them solve these challenges.
Got it. Here are 50 content ideas focused on how having an expert can help CMOs of service overcome. So it's giving you the content types as well.
Yeah, give me the content.
No, I get this. So it's going to list out
Yeah, yeah.
50. You're going to go through and you're going to say, oh, these five are really, really great. And you're probably going to like rank the the ideas. Oh, okay.
All right, here we go. So yeah, I tell you to give me the topic types, not not the topic, not the content types, the topics.
Right, right.
Uh, your role of content expert in developing a winning content strategy. How content experts help CMOs navigate content creation challenges. How
Yeah, yeah.
specialized knowledge translate to better content for service businesses. So my prompting skills admittedly aren't that good, because I don't
I just
use content. I don't use Chat GPT that often. I usually just
right,
come up with my
right.
own ideas. But you get the point of how you
Yeah,
could use this same template to kind of play around with and come up with different content ideas on your own.
yeah, yeah. Fortunately for me, I recently did a lot of research on prompting, so there's a system to use for that, and I could see how even with this, the ideas itself, like that's what you need. It's something you need the jump start. You need the the door to be opened, like, oh, this is what we could actually do with this, you know. I know for people like you and myself who I'm generating ideas from different experiences all the time. So ChatGPT might not be the first stop in doing that, but if you use the tool, then and you give it good inputs, then you can get what you need out of it.
Yeah. I think I think the greatest benefit I've seen with this is, as you said, having it down, documented that you can look at, and it helps you to gain that clarity. So
Yeah.
whether you use ChatGPT or you don't use ChatGPT, you have something that can guide your messaging, your sales pitch, how you approach everything in terms of that communication in your business. And
Yes.
and and also, well, since you have a co-founder, how you guys can always be on the same page in terms of how you want to position yourself.
Yeah. 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 Absolutely. Absolutely. This is great. This is great. This is great. Great stuff. You know. Thank goodness I did relate because I was teeter tottering into what to focus on. But it's a good thing we did this one because this is actually a real. This is real, like really real for us right now, and we have discussions about this often. So it's good to get this perspective and see how it all comes together. Yeah,
What
excellent.
I'll what I'll do, I'll send it filled out, but then I'll also put each column so you know what it is. And then you guys could always do this exercise again when you have more time to think through it, and get more clarity on how you want to go about positioning. But at least now you have the framework that you can work from.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that 100%. Yeah, it's good to sit with somebody across the table and do it, the virtual table, because it's so hard when you have to sit with yourself and do it. It's so difficult. I mean, people say, "Yeah, I can do that." I do it, and I can't do it with myself. It's real. It's really difficult to do it with yourself. You need to sit someone, and even internally, if you try to do it internally, the site is often very similar, so you have the same challenges. So sitting with someone across the table who could, because I realized in our discussion, in our coming up with these things, that you were so laser focused on getting these sections, these pieces filled out. My brain was probably trying to fill it out ahead of time, but you were saying, I know the component pieces. When I started to talk, you were like, all right, let's pull it back to here. Because you know how it's going to build up, right? So my brain is running in different directions, and you're saying, ah, no, this is the thing we want to get for here. This is the thing we want to get for here, and only when we got to like the end, I was like, oh, oh yeah. That it makes sense. It's like
Yeah.
I know what you're doing, but I still don't see it until it hits. It's a weird feeling.
Until yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why at the beginning I said that, which is why at the beginning it was so important for me to actually go through each step and kind of help you to understand, well, it's a flow from left to right. So we're not just randomly filling out everything, but it's kind of like understanding, it's looking at it from the buyer's perspective, then put it that way,
Yeah.
where they're saying, hey, these are the things we want to get done, this is how we're currently doing it, these are all the problems we're encountering, and it's not working for us. So this gap here is what we need. Like what's here that we could execute on, or what's here that we need to be doing to help us to overcome these problems and be able to get these, or deliver these outcomes, or these activities or jobs to be done that we're trying to achieve or accomplish.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So
And I love jobs
it's
to be
it's
done.
literally a linear process.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like a not a race so much as it is well, it might be a race. You have a start line and a finish line, and you kind of end up at a place at the end. That makes sense. Yeah. And I guess, let me ask, I guess if you wanted to refine this, you could go back and refine like the ICP and refine the system name and all those different things.
Yeah, definitely. As a matter of fact, once I decide to start prioritizing marketing leaders again, in the next few months, this entire exercise, I'm going to go through it all over again. So I'm going to look back on all the conversations I've ever had with marketing leaders, all the notes I've ever made, all the audios that were recorded, and I'm going to look through and kind of pick out, well, what are the top three use cases? All right, how are
Yeah.
they doing it now? What are the top three problems with them doing it now? So the good thing about this is that anytime you're either trying to reposition yourself to the same segment or trying to position yourself in a new segment, you can use this exact template and it works fine just the same.
Yeah.
Because all
Yeah.
you're really doing is you have these variables and you're just filling in the variables to a formula.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess the key thing about this is knowing the variables, right? Is knowing what they are. Because if you don't know anything at all, like I had a fair sense of what the things were because I'm in it. But if you don't know anything at all, there's no way you can actually do it like this. It's almost impossible.
And
You know.
watch this. That's why these first three steps are so
Yeah.
important to doing this step. Because if you don't have these first three,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
could probably guess what to fill in here. But if you don't have the actual information from speaking to actual clients or potential clients, then it still won't be as effective. Or it won't be
Yeah.
effective at all. Because then you're making assumptions versus what the insights and what the data is actually telling in terms of that qualitative feedback.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think we need to go back and interview our clients so that we get some fresh, some up to date inputs for this thing. You know.
And and I would recommend it. The reason why I said that is when I finally made the decision to focus on small business owners,
Hmm.
I literally went out and just started talking to people. When I say went out, meaning on LinkedIn and a few other people who I know, and I started setting up free consultations to people. And the benefit of that was they get the free insights, but I also get the knowledge and the information from them in terms of what they're struggling with now that I can now use to fill out this template.
Yeah, 100%. 100. That's an excellent way to do it. Years ago, when I was developing my ability to actually create content, not the tactical part of it, the execution part of it, the content creation, I gave away several, at least 25 consultations talking people through the content creation process. So I get an understanding of what they what their needs are, what their fears are, what their challenges are, and all those different things. So what you're suggesting is a premium method. Like talk to people about it and get the insights. And specifically, if you could talk to your clients, that would be ideal. This is so good. I almost said content and DMs. Put digital marketing there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
switch
yeah.
this to digital.
To Digimar.
So, someone reading it doesn't look on it and think we're talking about direct messaging.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
All
Much
right,
like
Sir
guide.
Juma. So, was it worth the time? Did you get value
Abs-
from this session?
absolutely, 100%. Very, very, very valuable. Highly recommend to business owners who are lost and don't know how to define themselves and position themselves. Excellent, excellent exercise to give clarity and sight. Excellent exercise.